Hey guys, I'm Tim, and I'm a Gemini.
I'm Bob, and I'm a Virgo.
I'm Spencer, and I'm a Leo.
I'm Daniel, and I'm an Aquarius.
Woo! And this is the Board Game Rundown. Today, this is our topic show.
Yeah.
And by that really lame introduction,
Yep. Tim's idea.
Yeah, totally.
listen, you dummies followed blindly.
Well, yeah.
You did not have to do that. I didn't even tell you what I was doing.
No, you didn't.
So as requested on the Discord channel, people just kind of wanted to get to know us a little bit. And so in this show, we're going to kind of share some stuff about your second hundredth favorite board game
Oh, God.
host.
Okay.
Right? Like we're like not even second. We're like
Right.
second hundredth. Not great. Anyways, so guys, I'm going to start off with like general questions. Easy ones, general like status, right? Like, so obviously my name's Tim. I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I actually work in sales. I sell welding supplies and gases and equipment. I'm also a truck driver. Like, so I drive a truck
Yeah, you
and
got
deliver
that CED. What's it called?
CDL
Yeah, I was close.
with a hazmat.
I knew there was a C and a D.
So when I'm not like working a counter and doing inside sales, I'm making deliveries and stuff like that. That's sort of like my backup job. But yeah, I got 2 kids, 10 and 5 years old, and I've been married for a long time. So that's me. That's the general like portion
Tim.
of this.
So yeah, I am recently single. I have no kids. I've got a little dog and a cat. You know what really grinds my gears though? Me. I grind gears for a living. So that's what I do.
Bob's a machinist.
I am a CNC machinist. I run some gear grinders at a place around here in South Bend. And yeah, that's basically what I do. I play a lot of board games, as many as I can.
Yeah,
You
no
come up with
doubt.
that on the spot.
Yeah, no, I.
Okay.
No,
Actually, I printed out the Peter Griffin with the grinds my gears, and I've got him hanging around the area. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm Spencer. I'm also married with 2 kids, ages 10 and 5.
I know it's weird.
I know.
Weird.
Not to the same person.
Different sets of children.
Yeah.
And
yep,
different wives.
Yes.
Yep.
And we, I've been married for 14, 15 years.
Yeah, you've been married
do
longer
the
than me.
math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
math is
I don't want
hard.
to do the math right now.
You should know that.
Yes, I should know.
Happily
that. My
married.
wife doesn't watch
He's
this.
been happily married for 7 years. They've been together for 14.
just move your mouth and we'll edit in later the
Yeah.
correct number of years. I've been married for
Years.
Since 2008.
There you go.
So there we go.
There
There you go. Right on.
And I am a freelance writer, a stay-at-home dad, and I'm trying to finish up a novel and get it published.
There you go. Right on. Perfect.
I'm Daniel. I am
Already boring.
I'm very British descent, hence the last name Stafford. That's it. I'm married. I have 2 dogs of which I'm allergic to, and a cat of which I'm allergic to. So that's very fun. Currently, we've talked about on the show lately, currently going through the process of trying to sell our current house and buy a new one, and that's all stressful and terrible and blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
that sucks. Don't recommend. I mean, new house, yes, would be great, but the
Right.
process is
Moving is
nightmare.
awful.
Yeah.
I am very much straight edge. People call me boring because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble. I just try to live my life to the fullest and be as good a person as
See,
I
I
can.
do that by drinking and gambling.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And then what else? What did you guys all mention at the end?
Job.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention, I guess. I work at a convenience store, classic 7-Eleven job, nothing special.
He's like clerks. He just
clerks,
gripes about
right.
people all
Right,
day.
right. The wife is the one that makes all the money. She
Nothing
makes-
wrong with
Nothing
being
wrong
married
with
to a
that.
breadwinner,
Yeah,
man.
She makes
That's
a
right.
crazy
Spencer?
amount of money compared to
Yep,
me.
my
so-
Spencer's
wife
wife's a
makes-
professor.
A lot of money. She works at Notre Dame.
Whoop, whoop.
And
I'm a
I
fan.
can only dream about making as much money as she makes.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's great. Me too. All right, guys. So next question. Early on, what are some of the first board games that you played that aren't like mass market?
Do you want to
Hobby
just go
style.
the same
Yeah,
order?
yeah. So I think actually technically the first one I played that wasn't mass market and I didn't know it, right, was Talisman.
Nice, which feels kind of like a mass market
A little
game.
bit.
Kind of does.
Nowadays.
The good first step.
So my stepmom, she was a captain in the Air Force. She was stationed in England before she married my dad. And so, like, one day randomly in the early 90s, she's like, oh, I've got this board game. And she pulled it out of storage, and it was Talisman. And I was like, never seen anything like it. Was just kind of getting into fantasy novels and things like that. And was like,
And you had played D&D and stuff before this,
Nope.
right? Oh, no. Okay, because I
This
was going to
is-
say, because the Talisman box art kind of
old were you?
gets that feeling.
I was probably like 10. Maybe closer to 12, 11 or 12.
Wow, this was in the 1800s.
Yes. Yeah, it was hand drawn.
It was carved in the wall.
Yeah, I would say
The
carved.
die were made from knuckle bones of the people that my stepmother had killed in war. But yeah, so I played like an old British version of Talisman, and I mean, yeah, it's not the most amazing game, but for an 11-year-old or whatever, it was amazing, and I just loved. And it was one then that I was like, can we leave this out? And I just played with that like all the time, right? Just by myself, even just rolling and seeing what happens and going through all the cards and everything. She got a lot of time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Talisman was one of the first, and then I think not even a year later, I got Hero Quest, and the expansions for Hero Quest. Because I remember we bought Hero Quest at a department store in Louisville, Kentucky. I was staying at my grandmother's house, and I was with my mom, and we played it. And we were like, didn't we see like other boxes? Like there was more stuff for this. And she's like, yeah. And it's like, okay, so can we go like get it like right now before? What are you copying? Oh, you
No,
just read the
I
question?
want to make sure
Oh
I
yeah.
knock it over.
No, yeah. There's nothing.
Yep.
So anyways, so then we like immediately went out and got like the rest of the Hero Quest stuff. And so like before even D&D, I had gotten into like Talisman and Hero Quest like first, and then got into like some role playing games with some friends. Call of Cthulhu and Dungeons and Dragons were like the first two. And then a little bit of Vampire Masquerade because it was the 90s and you couldn't play role-playing games without playing Vampire the Masquerade.
Little werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Mage, right? There was the fairy one.
Changeling.
And so whatever. Anything by
Nerds.
was that White Wolf?
White Wolf.
White Wolf. I was so disappointed with the werewolf one because I felt it was like too restrictive. And like you were just like eco-terrorists, and I wanted to be a werewolf. Like
Yeah.
I think the lore of werewolf is restricted though, right? It's like, well, once every month or whatsoever you get to be.
Yeah, but
I
I
did
just
like-
didn't like the factions.
I did
Like the
like-
vampire factions all made sense.
But if you're playing like the actual storyline of Vampire the Masquerade, you're like a 700th generation vampire with like no powers. I'm like, what? No, I want to be powers.
yeah. But anyway, so with varying levels of
Yeah.
fun, there was a lot of that kind of leading up into the 90s. There's a game I know you might mention that will have some overlap, so I'll just jump on that one when you talk about it.
If I talk about it.
You might. If you don't, I'll bring it up. But anyways, and then so then there was sort of like some role-playing games, a lot of like role-playing games, and not like a lot of like hobby board games until way later. Like I got a when the first Game of Thrones board game came out, and I was a big Game of Thrones novels fan because there was TV show was still 10 years off. Like I got that game, right? And you probably even played it with us. And it was like Greg and Pete and me and you and probably Jenny, So we're all playing this Game of Thrones game, whatever. And then my older sister Julia was like, oh, board games, hey. And so DC Deck Builder, Ticket to Ride, Europe were like the first hobby hardcore board games that we really like, and then it was like everything just exploded.
Yeah, big bang.
Exploded big time, and that was like 10 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's all downhill from there.
Perspective.
So that's sort of a very expurgated version, right?
Yeah. Well, blown out the cannon.
They wet their nests.
That's right. All right, go get
Pull that one out. All right. So, anyways, so Bobby, give us a run through of some of the first games you played, how you got to the hobby as it is.
Okay. Well, growing up upstate New York, we played a lot of card games, right? Like normal decks of cards and whatnot. Like not euchre because that's more of a Midwest thing, but we played a lot of other types of card games. Pinnacle, Book is a game that we play up there and whatnot. We used to
It's
play.
called reading, Bob.
I know. We play this game called Book. I don't know. You open it up, there's letters
But if
on
you
there.
play it long enough, Pizza Hut gives you free pizzas.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Book it. Yeah, great
I
stuff.
don't know. I was never winning at those.
Yeah, but we had
Well, I
a bunch of
was.
like some of the old classics, right? Like Sorry, Clue.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Boggle. What was the one that had the little pop-up thing in the middle?
Yeah,
Trouble. That was a
Trouble,
lot
yeah.
of fun.
Played a lot of those.
Yeah. And then, but it wasn't really. And then we played Spellfire. I don't know if you remember that. It was an old card game based in the Forgotten Realms world and whatnot. And then came Magic the Gathering.
Oh, I forgot. I don't even know how I left out Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
that was a
so
big
it was
part
a
of
good move.
Big,
that was a big part of my 90s. Was a lot of
big
Magic.
part of my 90s.
And then there was the
Large part.
the card
Yeah.
game based on Vampire the Masquerade,
Yeah.
Jihad, which I
Okay.
played a lot of with Greg back in the
Okay.
day,
Yeah, I
and the
didn't-
Star Wars
Yep.
living card game.
Yep, played a ton of that too. And then it was really one of the big ones that sticks out in my brain a lot, and it's kind of overlapping with your next question, but your sister, Julia, taught me Defenders of the Realm. In that game, I was like, it's like D&D, but it's like on a board.
So on this side of the table, you're going to hear my Patrick and Julia, that's my sister and brother-in-law, referenced a lot.
A lot, yeah. They really kind of like pulled us in.
Yeah.
So much. But yeah, a lot of D&D, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, because we even met, right? So
D&D.
Bob and I met because not even a mutual friend. It was a guy that I worked with was like, we were like, our friend Greg was getting ready to start a Cyberpunk campaign.
Yeah.
And we were looking for players, and like this guy that was a cook, I worked at Applebee's as a server and a bartender, and we were like, oh, you play D&D? You want to play Cyberpunk with us? And he's like, sure. Like, can I bring my friend Bob? And it's like, cool, great.
Yeah.
So did not know Bob. 2 weeks in, the guy that we invited was a total jerk
He flaked out.
and flaked out. But I mean, he was also not really pleasant to be around.
Sure. He was really my friend. I had just met him from one other person like one time. Yeah.
And we're like, Bob, you're staying, right?
Yeah, I just showed up the next week like, do you guys mind if I keep coming? And they're like, no, that's fine. So,
yeah. And the rest is history. That was
Yeah.
probably, what, 2004?
Long time ago, yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, he just never stopped showing up. I don't know. Yeah.
And poor Bob, I keep inviting him.
I know.
And he doesn't have like a good way. It's like, so you said you didn't have anything going on, so you can come over and play, right?
Yeah.
Why did I say I have no plans?
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And we played that. We played a bunch of different role-playing games together.
Well, that's the thing is, in the early and mid 2000s, we played. I mean, that's what we did. Is
Amber.
Chronicles of Amber.
Yep.
Did you play the Star Trek game with us? The Star Trek role-playing game with
No, I
us?
did not play that one.
Did you play the Vampire the Masquerade set in Roman times where we were playing Roman senators?
Nope. Maybe they didn't always invite
Oh,
you.
So a lot of Cyberpunk.
There's a lot of Cyberpunk.
We played a years-long D&D campaign.
Oh, yes.
That was
every Sunday. That was amazing.
Did you played a Nominate with us, Angels and Demons?
Yes, I played that one, and then there was
Deadlands.
Deadlands was a lot of fun, and the one with the superheroes, Brave New World.
Oh yeah,
that was a ton
Brave
of fun.
New World.
Yeah, what was it? Fruit Basket, bitch. That was great.
So good. And I had a character, Lucky Jack, and all my power was I was lucky.
Yeah,
Sure, Domino.
being lucky is not a superpower.
It is. What really sucked when everybody else can like fly and do cool things, and I'm like, I'm just gonna try this because I'm lucky and maybe it'll work.
It worked.
And then, did you play Seventh Continent with us? That was like the swashbuckling.
Yes,
That was Pointy End Goes in the Bear.
Because that was when every time Greg would try to give a speech, I'm like, I could throw a knife as a free action. I'm like, I throw a knife. He's like, no, he's talking. I'm like, yeah, but as a free action, I can throw a knife. I throw a knife. And so he was so frustrated with that. It was great.
He couldn't have his villain's monologue.
No, he was no monologue. I like
Constantly.
pin people to things. So like he'd be
Yeah, I
chasing
got a
us
whole
and pin
bag
his
of-
cloak to something.
Your
Yeah.
name on it.
Yeah, and
a
for
good
me,
time.
like my character was constantly looking for ropes to cut,
Yeah,
which
'cause
then
you
I could
swing
ride
around,
up
yeah.
as the chandelier would drop. You know, like that kind of like, and it was always just ha ha.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing that for?
Very over the top, swashbuckling.
Yeah.
It was a great game.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, it was that Mark was like, he picks up a spear. He's like, you're a monk. Do you ever know how to use that? Pointy end goes in the bear. Fair enough. Roll it. You know?
Sure enough, it hit.
Yeah.
So
That was a good time. But yeah, no, the Defenders of the Realm was basically one of my first hobby board games that I
Yes.
played. And that was a great, because it took a lot of those things that I like, where you pick a character and you've got these special abilities, asymmetrical, and you're working together to stop all these
And-
like generals
we had played some Axis and Allies together, like
beforehand.
intermingled right in there.
That's
So-
almost mass market though. Kind
Yeah,
of.
almost.
Yeah, it's
almost.
borderline.
And a bunch of Magic the Gathering and
Yep.
so on and so forth.
Yeah, cool.
Spencer,
All right.
top that.
Yeah.
So I grew up I was born in California. I moved to Virginia when I was 6. I grew up mostly in Virginia, and my older sister is 12 years older than I am.
I've got a sister that's 9 years older than me. So
You guys
I
are
get
almost
it.
the same person.
Oh my gosh. And
Huh?
we both have this.
Yeah,
I
you have the
know.
same barber.
Same barber. I can't grow a beard though.
Oh, okay.
That's how you tell us apart.
Yeah.
She was already into the hobby. So I started First Memories.
Sure. That's
super
great.
young.
With Celtic
No,
knot dice.
like I said, you were immediately adopted the hobby. I was born
into it.
Oh, some of the first ones I've played, I got started on Magic the Gathering when it was in beta.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I am so angry at my sister for giving away her like 12 unopened packs of Antiquities booster packs for $50. Oh my
You were correct when you say giving away, because you are
no,
virtually
giving away.
just
Yeah.
giving it away.
Sorry, my brain hurts right now.
I know. Oh, should be living it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, we played Steve Jackson games. You know those?
Yep.
There are
Oh, yeah.
so many Car Wars and GURPS and.
I really want to kind of get into Car Wars. I just don't have the time because I want to play X-Wing and other games that do
Right.
similar things.
Well, yeah. And
But Car Wars looks
is
amazing.
almost like a role-playing game, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you're building your car like you'd build a character, right?
And also, your characters, they die pretty frequently. So they're like, well, we know your characters are going to die, so you could either spend some money for a cloning machine or just say you're the son of the person and have
Yeah.
some vengeance.
There you go.
That's how you do it.
That's right.
I'm not Peter. I'm Peter Jr.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Peter was my father.
His father
Cheap
before
ass
him.
games.
Yeah.
They had Kill Dr. Lucky's probably their biggest one, but they had so many games out there, and
Well,
I
yeah, they were
played
cheap to
most
make.
of them. Yeah, they're super cheap. I couldn't even start with how many
Sure.
cheap ass games I've played. One of my favorites was this little a button, and everyone had a little button. You could wear it, and they had stats on them. And I don't even remember how to play. It's been so freaking long since I've played it, but you would basically fight each other.
Okay.
There was
Like in real life.
the buttons would, yes, you'd stab. Oh,
Okay, well, you're wearing a button in real life,
The button has your stats.
and the
Yes.
button has your stats.
yeah, you take off the button. I think it was like Button Wars or something like
Oh, see, that's what wasn't connected.
that. Yeah. Oh, there
I've
was
never heard
there
of
was
this.
another one that I can't remember the name of, where everyone gets their own little booklet, and you like I could be a griffin and you can be a dragon, and they all have different powers, and different powers make you turn to different pages depending on what the
Oh,
other
sure.
person chooses.
Sure.
Wish I could remember the name of that one.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is. We also had like Omega Virus back in the 90s.
That's the one. That's the one I said that we could both talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of mass market because I think it's like a Milton Bradley
is a Milton
thing,
Bradley,
but it
but
was not like mass
not
appeal.
two people had. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the only person I knew who had it.
Yeah.
And yeah, my sister and brother and I just played the hell out of that.
Yeah,
game.
my dad and my stepmom and my sister and I would all play Omega Virus, where you're basically trying to solve the code, right? As the game taunts you.
Yeah,
And you're trying to
he's-
you got to go to like the different sections of
Yeah,
the
so you
space
got
station.
4 different colored sections, and you are trying to find which room the virus is in.
That's
but
it.
in order to beat the virus, you have to pick up a weapon from each color.
So you can't just get lucky and find the
Find it.
you can find the virus, but then you got to go back and get everything
Yeah.
so you can go back and defeat it.
But as the game progresses, the virus, who loves to interrupt, it's an electronic game, so you push the little thing, and it goes 5 minutes until I take over. You human scum!
Yeah.
And it's so obnoxious because you're about to push into the code, and then he goes, red sector is closed. I'm trying to do this.
Like shut up so I can win.
But he'll close down sectors, and the board would flip over. And
Yeah,
so
you flip
now
it over so you
anyone
can't go
who's
through
there teleports to another sector. And
Were
it
they
get-
tiles or was it like a fold board?
It
that you
no,
could-
no, no,
It
no.
was a
It was like a
cardboard,
modular
raised
board that you could
cardboard
like
thing.
you'd just pull it out and
Oh, okay.
turn it over because that
and-
little
oh,
like
the voice.
notches.
I love the voice.
Yeah, no, it was great. It's great. It was a really good game. Yeah, I specifically left it out because I was like, Spencer will talk about this one.
Yeah.
And I will just jump on and say, yes, it's a really good, really puzzly kind of thinky game.
Especially for
like,
kids.
for what it was.
And you can make it really cutthroat because you can actually attack other players.
Mm-hmm.
But we almost never actually did that. 'cause-
We're always just too busy trying to solve the game.
Yeah,
Game
exactly.
Game was enough.
Yeah.
exactly. Another one I played a lot of, Plague and Pestilence. You ever heard of that one?
Oh, I've played that.
You've played that.
I've played that at Levi's. Wow. Yeah.
It's a little card game.
Yeah.
We're halfway, well, who knows when. I guess halfway through the game. For the first half of the game, you roll dice and you play cards, and every round you get more population in your area, and you're trying to make like wars with your opponent to try to lower their population, or have some pestilence spread over there and try to take their population down. Or there's like a little Pied Piper where you get to take like 5 population from everyone. But then at some point, someone uncovers the plague ship, and when the plague ship is uncovered, you put the deck back, you reshuffle everything in, but now every time you roll the dice, you're losing population.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And it becomes last man standing at that point.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I haven't thought about it since I played it the one time at Levi's, and it was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I played Cosmic Encounters like crazy with my
What?
siblings.
Cosmic Encounters?
Yeah. That game's kind of old, and I mean, it's kind of sort of mass market, but not really.
Right. No, it's just so old. There's so many variations, and
Yeah, exactly. Nuclear war, nuclear proliferation, and nuclear Oh, there's one more.
I know.
Another bad
yeah,
word.
they
Yeah.
just had a Kickstarter like in the last 2 or 3 years
Yeah, they
where they were
did.
reprinting all the
Yeah, I-
original ones.
I played those like crazy. You guys are talking about role playing games. I used to play D&D with my sister and Champions.
Oh, okay.
The
Yeah.
Champions hero system is where you're superheroes. It's a point-based system. So instead of rolling dice to figure out what your stats are, and then you level up depending on what your class is, you say, I want this power. Here is how I make this power. After I do some math, this is how many points that power is
Oh,
worth.
right.
And by doing that, they actually say you can create powers in other games.
Yeah, it's almost like a GURPS system, doesn't GURPS?
It actually came out slightly before GURPS. GURPS
Sure.
is more a copy of it.
Sure. No, that's fine. I'm just a parallel is all.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very similar to GURPS. GURPS is more like a simpler version, slightly.
I feel like GURPS is going to feel similar to a lot of things because GURPS just stands for General Universal Role Playing System.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, hero system has champions. I think that's how they started. But there's also fantasy hero and sci-fi hero, and they do a whole bunch of books for all these things. I love to play those.
Oh
games.
man, you know what one we forgot to talk about? The Star Wars role playing game,
Oh yeah.
the Saga edition.
Yeah.
Specific. Well,
My sister
we
had
played
that.
the West End, or was it West End Games? Had that version of Star Wars where you're just chucking D6s.
D6s.
Everything is D6s, and then Saga edition was more like D&D 3.5, right?
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was. I haven't played any of the new Star Wars games since then. But yeah, sorry. Just
And then I played a game when I was young called Dark Cults, which is a game where you one person plays life and one person plays death, and it's a story game. So I'll play a card, and the card will say the different kinds of cards it can play after it. And the first one is like, well, Bob goes down the street, and I'm playing death, so I'm going to, and he runs into a rabid dog.
Oh, sure. It's
I Dark Overlord.
no,
Overlord.
it's what's that called? It's where one person plays the positive and one person plays the negative.
Exactly.
It's like Dan loves corn. Oh, fortunately, unfortunately. That's what it's called. Fortunately, Dan loves
Unfortunately,
corn. Unfortunately, Dan's allergic to corn. Fortunately, Dan has an epinephrine pen. Unfortunately, it's broken. Yeah, like that's a yeah, okay.
Yeah, and there's another one that I played recently, Gloom,
Yeah,
where it's very similar. You're trying to kill off your other players' people.
and make your life more
Yeah.
depressing.
Yeah, exactly.
so funny.
Actually, it's not kill off your other players, but you're right. If you're trying to,
You're trying to
yeah,
make your
them
family as miserable as you can, and then
miserable,
kill
yeah,
them
And make
for the
other
points.
people's families happier.
Yeah.
such a great.
You're like,
concept
haha,
for
you
a
just
game.
got a new dog. And they're like, oh yeah, it's dead. And you're like, what?
Yeah. And then, I mean, I was playing these games since I was really young, all through the 90s. When I got into college, some friends of mine, Brian and Lige, they're actually friends of my sister's, but they let me and my brother go over and play board games with them.
And it's important because your brother is your twin.
My
So you
identical
guys-
twin brother.
They actually invited your brother, but you showed up and they couldn't tell.
Yeah, they're like, we don't know which one to ask to leave. I guess they
Like
both-
mark your hand or
I guess
something.
they- oh, yeah, like The Office,
The Office, yeah.
which is even worse because they weren't twins.
Yeah, that's true.
So they would introduce us to even more of the hobby. They actually became. They would go from place to place advertising. I think it was Cheap Ass Games, or it might have
Okay.
been Steve Jackson. So they were always doing this. They were all getting new games, and yeah, I was just
You were just
always
you were,
inundated
you were
with these board
born
games.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Hi. Okay, so I'm gonna mention a couple small things that probably should have been the general thing really quick because I feel like they help with like the psyche kind of thing. Because I always like telling people, okay, well, first of all, like 4 of my favorite movies in my like top 10 movie list is Fight Club, Memento, Inception, and Predestination, which are all just insane mind-bending movies. So like that's what I love, and that gets you into like a psyche, I think, that is like what makes me what I am.
Twisted and dark.
Psychiatric ward.
Right. Someday.
Yeah.
There was something else. I'll think of it later. But so if we're going to talk about board games, the problem, mine's going to be way easier and shorter than yours. Because first of all, I got into the main hobby like 6 years ago or something. Very recent. And also, I like the 2 big stories that are in the hobby for me, I've told 1 million times on the show. So it's not very difficult. I'll say that I mean, I started like anyone else. My dad had a board game collection that we played. I mean, obviously my mom had games too, but I remember specifically like playing Risk a lot with my dad, and Stratego was my favorite game when I was young. I loved Stratego. It was such an interesting tactical game. And all those basic stuff that I had, when I was a kid, I of course collected Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff, as opposed to your guys' Magic. And I also have the famous story, like what you especially shared something where, I mean, when I was in elementary school, I probably had $10,000 worth of cards today stolen from me. Like, it's crazy to think about that. Back then, it was just like, I don't
At
like
least you
cards
just didn't
anymore.
buy $3.5 million worth of fake cards.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't do that.
Logan Paul.
Whatever.
Sorry.
It's fine. And then the big thing that happened for me, the first game, first of all, I just randomly started watching Dice Tower. Dice Tower was my introduction to the hobby. I really like watching YouTube. I spent a lot of my time on YouTube, which might have been the other. The other thing in general was for many years I ran a video game YouTube channel with a friend of mine who lives in Ireland, and called The Gamer Shelter, which we've mentioned before. And we just played games. It's much less PG than this one because it was just us playing games how you would play games. So that kind of had my interest in YouTube and my interest in gaming. And I just started watching Dice Tower. I started getting into board games. The idea of board games instead, I found them less stressful. There's a stressful board game here and there, but like just video games can really get your blood pumping, and you can get angry and be like, how did I die? You have so many people. We have a friend who maybe lets it get to him a little too much.
Maybe every time. Multiple times a game.
And there was a time in my life where I was kind of like that, and I hated it. I hated that part of me that I was letting video games get me so
Under your
angry.
skin.
Yeah,
I had
under
that
my
problem
skin.
too.
And
I had
so
kids.
yeah,
And I had to stop.
and so I started watching videos from Dice Tower, and I just liked how laid back and everything was. And the first games that got me into the hobby that were like more hobby games, I just jumped in. Like I just, I had played some stuff in my childhood, but I was like, you know what? I want to get into hobby games. I did a bunch of research. I watched a bunch of gameplay videos. What am I going to like? And I bought very close to each other. I don't know which was first. I bought Dead of Winter, and I bought Betrayal at House on the Hill. And those are my two intros. And honestly, I think those are two pretty good intros because they are nothing like each other. They cover two completely different parts of the hobby, and they're both pretty simple, but with some depth, right? And
Definitely.
so I felt like I'm happy with that choice all these years later of what I had done. But I loved them. They blew my mind. I mean, again, remember that the last games I played was Risk and Clue and stuff, right? And then I played Dead of Winter, and I was like, this is what board games are like today.
This is way better.
This is so much better.
They've been like that for a while. You just didn't know it.
Exactly, yeah. And so I just started getting in the hobby. I started collecting games. That's actually when Levi and I started hanging out again. And we just, I don't know if he started it or if I started it, but we just started a collection. One of the first games we got was Talisman and all the expansions.
There you go.
There was just something about it. We loved the look of it and everything. And I think we probably got the base game first, loved it, and got all the expansions for it at that time. More stuff has probably come out. Who knows? There's so much for that game. And we had, that's where we wound up getting Twilight Imperium, we went all in. And then Levi and I had kind of a falling out, which will just happen with Levi. He's doing it right now, right? Levi's like, he'll hang out with you every day for 6 months, and then he won't talk to you for a year. And then they'll hang out with you like, that's just who he is. It's fine. But we had kind of a falling out, and so I just kind of played with myself again, my family and everything. I hate you.
PG.
And then I discovered a new game shop opening in town called The Village Well.
Yeah.
And Catherine and I started
R.I.P.
spending... Yeah, Catherine and I started spending all our time there. They had a game shelf where you could just walk in, pull a game off the shelf, open it, and play it. And then if you liked it, you could buy it at the counter. It's just a fantastic play before you buy system he had there, which probably hurt his sales slightly because people would just go there and play games for free and then leave. But it was awesome.
Yeah.
Super appreciated. And one day I was there getting close to closing time, and some people were setting up a board game that looked really cool. But I had no idea what it was, and the person was like, "Hey, would you like to stay and play? We're staying after close. We could use another player." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll stay after this place closes with just this small group and play." And so that was Lords of Hellas.
You know what's funny is I've got a similar Lords of Hellas story.
Oh.
So me and some friends just got this Kickstarter in, right? Lords of Hellas. We go to the same game store, which is weird, right?
Village Well?
Yeah.
Okay.
What a coincidence. we set up this game, and this dude is just like loitering around. And it's like, oh, these all look amazing. Like, the pieces for this game look amazing. And we're all like, what are we gonna do? We gotta like, Dave is gonna like lock the doors, and he's gonna let us stay in here, but we got. So then it's like we got to invite this guy to play, I guess, because he seemed really interested, and we'd be really rude to be like, "Hey, man, we're gonna start to play, so we need you to like
Go.
So we invited him to play. So how'd your story turn out?
Well, it turns out the guys were a lot douchier than I thought. Well played. But yeah, so Tim was pretty good friends with Dave, and Dave let him stay there after close. And Tim said, "Hey, would you like to try out this game?" And I said, "Yeah, this game looks incredible." And it wound up being one of my favorite games. So I'm really glad. I mean, I also met them and stuff, but it wound up being one of my favorite games, which is like the real takeaway.
Right. The important thing.
Yeah. But no, but that's how I met Tim. And then actually at the Village Well, that's how Bob and I met too, which is a
Very
crazy
random
funny
And
story.
I met Tim at the Village Well as well. We were playing
Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride, and only 4 of us showed up, so it was a very short tournament.
Ticket to Ride tournament, which I won.
You won.
Two.
And,
you beat
and
3 other people?
I hate played.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
no, the winner only has to beat.
No. It was
people.
America, and I took over both ways to go into Las Vegas, but I didn't have a Las Vegas card.
Yeah.
Everyone hated
So Spencer came in second, hate drafting.
Yeah,
like
hate
basically just trying to block the
people.
long
I
routes.
wasn't really. It was the fastest way for me to get to my place, but immediately they blocked me off, and I was like, "Well, screw you all."
Yeah. But I had enough routes like to get around. Like
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. Yeah, met Spencer there.
Yeah.
Playing games. I mean, that's the great thing about this hobby is you can find some really good friends and Dan at game stores and playing games
And it
with.
seems this one game store, which unfortunately is no longer in business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
I
know.
mean, I've made a lot of friends even at this game store when there
Yeah.
was an open game night, and I've still got a lot of relationships with people, that I don't see all the time anymore. But when I do see them, it's like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah. Well, one of the big reasons that place was a meeting ground for us, I think, is because it was new. It was a brand new place, so a lot of people were going there
yeah.
checking it out from the hobby, and so we were running into each
And-
other there more than like at Fantasy.
and it was a game store that was just board games. So
it's true,
a lot of board game stores make their money selling Magic cards,
right.
and Yu-Gi-Oh
Magic and Warhammer.
and Warhammer and stuff.
Right.
I get it, right?
D&D.
And that's fine. That's great, right? But a lot of times their open gaming space is dedicated to those things. So to have a game store that had basically just board games, and you could roll in with your own board games, and and play those. And I wasn't able to like every time I went in there because I would be divorced to buy something, but I always tried, like when you go in, just get something. And I did the same thing when we would come to open game nights here because I was playing a lot of Dice Masters then. So it'd be like, I'll get a couple booster packs or something. It's a couple bucks, right? And you got to keep the game stores alive. Because I
You
want to have
these places to go.
Absolutely.
you want to have the places where you can go and meet all these people and make
Yeah.
friends with.
Show up to somebody's like surprise party.
Right.
Yeah.
What I was saying was I had a surprise birthday party there. My wife took me there, and
Nobody was more surprised than Bob.
Yeah. Bob was evidently, again, I wasn't there
there.
this time, right?
Yeah.
He was just there buying, and then they were like, "Hey, we're gonna like turn the lights off and surprise." So like Bob had to like
Hi.
hide with my family
Yeah.
and friends, and then like surprise. Okay, I'm gonna go check out my stuff. But, it's just funny that's when I met Bob, and that was a long time before we ever actually started hanging out. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
we wound up realizing that you hung out with Levi and I hung out with Levi. Was how
Yep.
we actually wound up being like, oh,
Yeah.
weird.
Well, you offered me cake too.
Oh, that's true.
That
And you're
helps.
like, it's Bob will remember this.
There was cake.
There was cake. Okay, I'll stay.
But, yeah, so that's what really got me in the hobby then was actually finding these people that played games that I could hang out with and were,
Okay.
nice and inviting and stuff,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, things like you said snowballed from there and turned into this YouTube show, which again, I have a history with liking doing YouTube stuff,
Yep.
and I have a history with liking games. So it's like, hey, we're doing a YouTube video about games. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, my stories have all been repeated.
Yeah.
I have a very
Well,
short lifespan.
Yeah, but I
in
mean,
this
to
hobby.
consolidate it all right here, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And again, right? Like, so when I was asked if I wanted to come up with like an idea for like a board game, YouTube show or whatever. I mean, a lot of that was because of the good reputation that I had built up by coming and doing game nights here, like open game nights and helping just try to make sure that everybody's playing games and that nobody's just sitting off to the side, and it's why being a gatekeeper is so terrible, and being an ambassador to like gaming is such a great thing.
Yeah. Unless you keep your gate open.
Right.
You're not really
But-
gatekeeping at that
Yeah,
point.
it's
Then.
just kind of gate watching.
Because you you don't know what kind of opportunities are going to happen, right? And because of all of this accumulation of experiences, right, is where we have gotten and how we have gotten here, right? Because I knew that Dan, when I was putting together like people I wanted to try to do the show with, so I knew Spencer is very well read, an intelligent guy, and it's like, okay, he can like put words together, in a on camera in a good, in a good way. Bob teaches a lot of games, like when we go to conventions and stuff, it's like very knowledgeable, and and it's like Bob and I have been gaming. There's a lot of trust here, right? We've just known each other for so long, and then it's like Dan's got a YouTube channel, like he knows.
He knows YouTube.
But he does. But also, like Dan can talk on camera, right? Dan is. We don't always agree, but Dan's good at putting his opinions out. And there's a lot of times where you guys will use phrases and kind of word things a certain way, and I'm like, that is exactly what I could not get,
but you couldn't.
but I could not get it to
Yeah.
coalesce
Convey.
like that.
Yeah.
And so to have such a variety of guys on the panel, but I think our hearts are all in the same place, even though we do come at this from all different angles, right, and different places.
That's a whole thing. I'll just mention quickly that Tim and I didn't go into, but we really could have. Is we both have. You so more than me. Mine's more of a wish that I tried to do.
Oh,
more
yeah,
so,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we both have
like theater backgrounds,
acting backgrounds.
Yeah, I was going to get into that and
Oh,
some of the
okay.
other stuff.
Got it. I
but-
didn't know there was more
Me too.
sections. Like
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
other
Section,
sections
yeah.
were.
Oh yeah, no. So, but yeah, that's. I guess
I did
before
some
we,
acting in college.
we'll get there in a second. So before we get into all that, while we're still on the board game
Right.
part of it,
Yeah.
this will not necessarily be nearly as long, and some of it has already been covered.
Yeah.
But like, can you name like a person or a couple people that actually got you like way into the hobby, like as
Oh,
deep,
sure.
Oh, yeah.
deep into the hobby as you're in,
Yeah.
right? So for me, it's my buddy Greg, like our mutual friend Greg, right? Like
Yeah.
Greg and I went to high school together. We started playing D&D, like where you had to calculate THACO,
Yeah, oh,
D&D,
yeah.
and then he was our game master for a long time. And if he hadn't moved to North Carolina, we'd be playing board games with Greg like all the
Absolutely.
time, and probably still playing D&D.
Probably.
And my role playing really dropped off when he moved because I just trusted him so much and always had such a good time playing in his games.
He was a really good game master.
For me, playing games with Greg was like, what do they call it? Like appointment TV, where it's like you are going to not make plans because
Yeah.
you are doing this.
Doing that.
So if he's running a game, it's like I
there.
cannot do anything because I'm doing this. It is like I had to do that. I wanted to do that. There wasn't anywhere else I wanted to be.
Yep.
And then obviously, my older sister Julia and Patrick.
Yep. That's for me
Um,
big.
They live south of Indy in Greenwood, and they are great ambassadors to the hobby.
Yep.
They are very welcoming. They even, they teach everybody, anybody that's even remotely interested. They bring them in. They're welcoming. They're always accommodating, and they welcome people into their home to play games. They're just generous with their time, and their access, and a lot of the connections and the relationships that I have built up have been through them. And in addition to just exposing me to a ton of board games early on, and to where now, like I'm finally able to kind of like keep up and even tell them
some new stuff. Yeah.
But they're way tapped into the industry just from their own involvement,
Yep.
and everything. But they're just,
Good people.
there's just so much that I've gained from access to them, right? And so for me, it's like I've got to pass that on, and I've got to try to be as accommodating, right? That's my
Pay it forward.
that's my model right there, right? And I've got to try to recreate that up here and do as much as I can up
Try
here.
harder.
Yeah, no, way harder.
Yeah.
Way harder. But yeah, so it's Patrick and Julia, and you're probably gonna have a similar
Yeah.
thing because you and I have known each other for so long that
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah, that 10 years ago, basically, when we started getting into the board game so heavy, it was with them.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we have that shared history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was, DC deck building. Like when we started playing DC deck building early on, right? It's like, hey, Bob, check this out. But then, yeah, when we play Defenders of the Realm, I'll never forget it. It was at my kitchen table, you know what I mean? And we had it all set up, and it's like you and I both were just like
Yeah.
mind blown, right? But yeah, anyways,
That
not to
would-
step on your stuff.
No, my stuff was.
Yeah.
D&D back in high school and whatnot. We had my friend Jeff Falsich did a lot of DMing and whatnot,
Sure.
and Andy Zahner. Just high school friends. Whatnot. We still talk a little bit, but we don't play any more role playing games together.
Right.
But then after all that, it was Greg and you and
Yeah, and Greg and I played we played the Star Wars CCG together. We played Magic together. You know, we played Warhammer together. I didn't
Yeah.
even get into Warhammer.
Yeah, I was surprised you didn't mention the Warhammer
I
stuff.
kind of forgot about it
Yeah,
because
like,
there's
I
so
didn't
much
know-
other stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Pete also played Warhammer with
Yep.
us, right? And Magic, and he didn't play Star Wars, but all the role playing games. I mean, the wide variety of
Yeah,
them.
I played a little bit of Warhammer, but I didn't own any of the armies. 'cause
Sure.
they were, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I played other people's
Yeah, they're
armies.
whistles.
Yeah, they are.
They cost whistles. I can
They
barely
do.
whistle, so I can play very
I
much.
can't whistle.
right.
That's why I never play.
So yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
All right.
Oh, well,
I know you kind of covered some of it,
I
but
covered
just
a
some
little
of
bit.
it. My sister Rachel, my friends Brian and Lige, they were ambassadors, very much so. And it was Brian, Lige, Rachel, Steve, and me and my brother, and we would always get together and play tons of games. And then everywhere I've gone, I've tried to be that ambassador.
yeah.
When I went to college, there were 4 of us, and we formed something we called the Table Guild, where in between classes or after class, we would just bring board games to Student Union building and play games.
What's up with you and your secret societies, man?
I know, right?
That one was
Dude,
very
it's not
secret.
a, not a cult.
There were times I was in class, and I would overhear people going like, "What's up with those nerds who play games in that thing?" I'm like,
Well, the problem is you guys were dressed up like Knights Templar while you.
yeah. And when I went to, I moved and I went to South Carolina. I found friends down there who board game and got them more into it, and had a weekly game night with them. And then when I moved here, I started up a weekly game night, and yeah, it's just I've always tried to get as many people into it as I can and share as much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just go in order. I mentioned most of them, but there's some things that I probably forgot. So first of all, my parents, right? I can't think of enough for, just playing board games with us as kids. I think most people did, but still, it obviously left an impact. I still love some of those games to this day. Again, I'll play Stratego today. I don't care. I think it's a great game, and that's because it's been imprinted on me like an agent from the Matrix. And then after that, I think I have to go to Dice Tower. I think that was then the next big one again. Just YouTube in general, Shut Up and Sit Down, Dice Tower. Man, I'm sure there's so many more.
Board Game
I watch.
Rundown.
Yeah.
Didn't exist yet.
I don't know.
Who are they?
But so
they're
I mean,
good.
I have to give them credit. They did a great job of piquing my interest, right? Not for everyone maybe, but they piqued my interest and they got me into the hobby as big as I am today, right? After that, I think it goes straight to Tim.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
obviously like this
And
whole
that's where
group
the
in
story
general, but
ends.
Tim was the one that opened his first door and said, let's just let this loser sit down and play Lords of
No,
Hell.
I was so excited that we had, honestly, it's like, oh, I mean, this sounds cheesy, right? But it's like a new friend. Like, hey, we're going to play games together. This is the thing we're going to do. I was really glad that it all worked out the way that it did. Really.
I just can't believe that was just a whim of me deciding to go to Village Well that day.
Right.
And just walk around and look at
did.
Well,
games. 'Cause
it's-
I don't think I bought anything.
well, so that's the weird thing about everybody at this table, right? Is so you were just a random, like, hey, come in, do this. Spencer just happened to be sitting on my right side, right next to me at a Ticket to Ride tournament that I just was able to show up for and play. And then we were talking the whole time, and then he's like, oh, I do a game night and stuff, and I got invited to a game night, right?
Bob just happened to be friends with Levi after showing up to my birthday.
Yeah. And then Bob was a friend of a guy who was not even my friend.
Yeah, not my friend either.
And we didn't even like that much.
He's Matthew. If you called him Matt, he
Oh.
was so mad about calling
Yes.
him Matt. Yeah.
And we have a friend named Matt.
We do.
And he was
There.
a dick to Matt.
Matt, yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, Bob
Random
kept,
happenstance.
Bob stayed. It was, the rest is
Kept
history.
showing up. Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, that's why you just open yourself up to opportunities, right? And
Otherwise, you miss out.
And then I have to mention one more thing that I left out of everything else because it was just it lasted so long. Was after getting into the hobby then. So I just got into D&D, like I said, but I was part of like a 2 to 3 year GURPS campaign.
oh, you were, I remember,
Yeah.
because that's why you couldn't be on the show initially.
Exactly, yeah, because it was every Sunday, which is the crazy part why I feel like I need to bring it up is because it was my first time doing any role-playing. I might have played like a session of Pathfinder at Levi's just to test it out or something, but I never actually made a character and really got into it and, played a campaign. And this was like, again, I don't know how long it lasted. I might be undershooting, I might be overshooting, but like it felt to me like 2 to 3 years of us meeting almost every single Sunday without fail. I mean, like there were even Sundays where we met
I'm
on
jealous.
Sunday, realized we were not really in the mood today, so we just like watched a movie together or something instead, But like almost every Sunday we
Kind of
played
like our old
GURPS.
D&D campaign.
And I mean, our characters went through this giant thing that this guy had written. This campaign was mind blowing. Like I kind of wanted
It's
to turn
the
it into a
best.
book.
Yeah.
It was just crazy because it started as we were just like black ops forces in the military, modern day basically, like slightly futuristic, but we were just going overseas, and we were doing black ops operations, under cover of night with M4s and stuff like that, right? We were just soldiers. And then we wound up fighting a boss once who had this staff, and he instantly killed all of us. And we woke up the next day after being turned to salt. And now all of a sudden we started getting like weird feelings in our hands and stuff, and we wound up being possessed by gods who were trying to fight off this guy who had this staff of ancient power, and we were like, "Where is this going?" Like we designed our character, so I started the campaign as an M4 wielding soldier grunt who was like, "Yes, sir. What's our mission?" And I ended the campaign as basically a Final Fantasy character. I was flying through the sky with blades whirling around me, and whenever I would attack, blades would fly out from behind me from my wings, and I was like, "This is
Archangel.
crazy." Yeah, but he did an amazing job of writing the story over like 2 to 3 years of just it was
that's
a
awesome.
huge part of me getting into role playing and stuff. And again, it got that actor itch out, which we will cover, that I've been wanting to, get in character and just be someone, know?
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to mention that. Thanks, Lee. Your campaign was fantastic. I think you know that. And I think that's it. I think we're now to modern day.
Modern day. That's awesome. I love it. I really do. So what are some of our hobbies outside of board gaming, if you have any? I know I
Other
do.
hobbies.
What? So I am a cinephile. I love movies.
Yeah.
And before I got into collecting board games, I collected movies. I just love movies, good, bad, terrible. Like I'll watch them all and then I'll complain about the bad ones and rave about
MST3K.
love about, rave about the ones I love. I'm an avid reader. I read, sometimes I've got like 2 or 3 books going at a time. Like right now I am reading book 7 of Wheel of Time for the first time. I'm reading The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub for the second time. I just finished Salem's Lot, which is why I went over to The Talisman, because I want to read Black House next, which is the sequel to The Talisman, and then I want to read Insomnia. So I got like those, but I'm also at the same time rereading the Chronicles of Amber. So it's kind of like whatever I'm in the mood for. I pick up the book and I just go through. Now I've read the Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny probably 15 times. Like read through all of those books a lot. I love those books.
Apparently.
Yeah. So anyways, those are like reading and movies were sort of like my main hobbies before I got into board games. I get my reading from my dad. My dad is an avid reader. He reads more useful things like historical, historical stuff. But yeah. So I'm a big reader, big into movies. Another thing that I love to do, don't get to do it as often. Dan has hinted to it a bunch. Is I used to in high school and then afterwards when I had time and not kids, used to do a lot of theater like locally. Like whether it was high school, like whether it was like Firefly Festival around here, we would do that. We would do theater. There is a local historical mansion that does like a mystery night once a year. And so my friend and I, we act out a 3-minute scene 35 times, like in a night. As people come through and we perform the scene and they leave and then new people come through. And of course we always ad lib and change stuff and try to get laughs out of, or reactions, but usually laughs out of the crowd. So theater is a thing that I love and am passionate about. Like I did radio in high school. And we were way more into our radio show than any of the other guys. No offense to the other guys that and girls that were doing radio at the same time, but Matt and I like made an intro to our show. Like it took us probably 4 hours to edit a 1-minute introduction where it was like all these sound clips that run into, but we're doing it with reel to reels and cassette tapes. And it's like, okay, pause. We got it. So this was like 1996, right? Yeah. And so we would have a theme for every show. That's weird. I wonder where that came from. We'd have a theme for every show and we would pick songs from our show was called Spam Radio in 3D. Spam because it's not real meat, right? It's like mystery. So we were like not real radio, Spam Radio, and then I don't know why we said 3D. 3 decades. So it was 70s, 80s, and 90s music. But we technically went way beyond that.
Sure.
Even into the future. But anyway, so that was like the breakdown of our title, and we were way into the show. Like the teacher loved us, even though we were just always goofing off. Like for us, this was playtime. Like it's a class, but like making a show was playtime, and we would have a recorded show and a live show like every day, and yeah, we just go nuts, come up with all kinds of stuff. And again, we would make characters. We'd have characters on the show and do these stupid little skits. They're so bad, right? And it's Matt and I doing very bad impressions and or acting out like these very lame characters. And so yes, that all kind of fed into all of that, right? And so that's just some of the things that I do or did do. And then same group of friends, we this was only like 10 years ago, and it was on a local TV show where we had a Men on Film movie minute. And you could still find probably 30 or 40 of those on YouTube if you look up.
Something.
They are something. But, oh, yeah. I mean, it was basically almost like public.
Yeah, it's public access, basically.
Yeah, it was basically public access. They asked us if we wanted to do it. My buddy produced it, and then my other friend. So my buddy that we did the radio show with, he produced and edited it. And then my friend Alex was the other host.
Talent.
Yeah. We were the talent. I was always frustrated because it was very scripted, and we had to be very tight. It had to be 2 minutes. It couldn't go over because we just had this 2-minute window, and we always wanted to do all of this crazy stuff. And it's no budget because we're sitting in my buddy's basement with like a drapes like stapled to his wall, with like a black background. Nice. And but yeah, we did it every week. We were passionate about it, had a great time. And yeah, it's really bad. If you want to go look for it, I'm sure there might be an embarrassing link in the description below.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna do those, but I'll probably do that one.
Just pick a good one. Anyways, so that was my way too long hobbies outside of board games. I try to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Apparently, no, I don't do as much as Tim. I play a lot of video games. That's where I got my start. Ton of video games. Huge Final Fantasy nerd. I played like all the early ones. I played 11 for like 7 years. Played some 14 for a while. I love that. Dan's recently got me into some Dead by Daylight. I've been enjoying that.
Definitely a group effort.
It was definitely a group effort. But I've been enjoying it. I've gotten on a few times.
We told you it's fun.
I know, but I was worried because like so many games like Call of Duty or whatever, like people learn where all the hiding spots are. And it's like I don't want to like join in, and all of a sudden I'm just getting murderized, every minute because
I do totally get your one complaint you share with me that you feel. As a survivor, you can't do anything to stop the killer. You're just trying to complete your objective before you die. So it's not like a fight back mechanic.
Right, it's a runaway mechanic.
Yeah, it is a runaway mechanic, and you do get better at running away.
You do, yes. I've been getting better at that. So yeah.
If anything, you just get on to listen to Pete like throw his controller.
Yeah, he gets pretty frustrated pretty quickly. It's pretty funny. Although I do get it sometimes.
What's weird is there are hackers every game.
No, every game. Every game. I know. Well, it's like I even like vault through this window.
They only turn it on when they're chasing him.
Yeah.
There he is.
And then they turn it on.
Oh, it's just Dan. I guess.
Dial it back. I like the Dark Alliance games, Baldur's Gate, things like that. I played a lot of like Pools of Radiance back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was a good time because it's D&D on a computer game. So why not? Go play it without having friends. I like to travel a lot, so when I get the opportunity,
you are a globetrotter.
I am. So I've been to Hogwarts. I've been most of the 48 states, Mexico, Costa Rica,
New Zealand.
Yeah, that was my big one. I love that. Hobbiton. Got us to see a bunch of that. That was a good time. I'm hoping next year I'm starting to save up. I want to go to Germany. I want to do Essen. That's one of my goals to do.
Yeah, I would love to go to Germany, and then Essen would just be like the icing on the cake,
a little bit on top there. Yep. Such a good time. I like going out to eat. I like trying new restaurants and getting new types of food and cuisines and everything. So I like doing that. A cinephile like Tim. I think that's one of the reasons why we click a lot because I can throw out some random movie reference and he knows what I'm talking about. So
and it helps that we're like Weird Al fans.
That was on here too. Big. I love parodies. I love Weird Al is amazing. Mel Brooks. Grew up on a lot of Mel Brooks.
Yes.
We're going to see Weird Al. You're in that group, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You and Kelly both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I married married a fan of Weird Al. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna throw it out. There's another one that we don't have tickets for yet. I'm thinking about buying tickets. If you want to go, we'll check out the dates. Maybe it can
Very
happen.
well might want to do
Love
that.
me some Weird Al. I'd love to see it because the best thing about this tour that he's doing is that it's not the parodies. I love his parodies, but his
Yeah.
original stuff is hilarious. He doesn't
yeah.
get enough credit for it, and I love it. So we're gonna do a bunch of that. I love World War I, World War II stuff like movies, games, books. I do a lot of those kinds of things. I don't read a lot much anymore because my job is very dirty, and so I can't have books. The oil would just ruin them, right? So I've been
Yeah.
getting into Audible a lot, and so I listen to a lot of Audible books, and so that's been my takeaway from that is doing those. So, but yeah, that's pretty much most of my hobbies.
Okay, I am a very hobby-oriented person.
Yeah, you are a Renaissance man. And then we're gonna get
Little
Dan, and
bit.
Dan's
Time
like,
to
I like
tune
video
out.
games.
I've also played video games most
Yeah.
of my life. Started when I was a kid, loved them. Started to drop off a bit when I had kids, and I started cursing way too much at the not being
screen.
able to get past
Yeah.
a very certain section in one game, and I was like, I can't do that. But I still love my video games. I've been playing way too much Elder Scrolls Online.
Nice, that's a good one.
That's free now, I think, right?
Oh no, it's always been free, but you have to pay
To get the cool
the
stuff.
actual game.
You got to buy the
have to
game.
buy
It's
the
free to
game.
No,
play.
that's
It's
what I.
free to
okay, so
play.
it's not.
But if you want to have all the cool stuff, that's extra.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant though. So like Star Wars Old Republic, you don't have to buy the game. It's just free, but you get super limited stuff.
Options.
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
you
Well,
pay
one of the things that-
monthly stuff.
One of the reasons I pay is because I like crafting in the game,
Right.
and you have only so
Limited,
many inventory
yes.
slots, and each one of those things takes up an inventory slot. But if you pay, you get an unlimited bag of
Yes.
just crafting materials,
That's
and
super handy.
That's worth the $15 to me. That's,
Yeah, if you like crafting.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe Star Wars you do have to pay 15 for the game, but I don't know. Anyway,
So I used to brew beer. Let's start up again. I stopped when my son was born just because I got so busy, and then I had a toddler running around, and it was just a little hard to do it, but I'd love to get back into brewing beer. I like to try new beers. My favorite beer right now is probably Dragon's Milk. Although they have a peanut butter stout that's amazing.
I didn't know you could milk a dragon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's got nipples. Anything with nipples
Yeah.
is milk, I guess.
could you milk me, Bob?
I could. And we're done.
I've always been into music. I blame my parents. My mom was a piano teacher my entire life. She taught in the home. So I had music playing my entire life in the background. My dad's an organist. They had me take voice lessons. I learned violin. I taught myself how to play guitar. I have the nails for it.
I mean,
If
you
haven't
play the
noticed.
intro to our show.
I played the intro to the show. I love music, and not just playing music. Weird Al and
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
70s. I think that was the best decade
sure.
for music. But
It was good.
yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, I love almost all music. There are very few exceptions. When I was in high school, I did some acting. I used to do tap dance. And I was in a production of Hello Dolly where I was one of the tap dancing cooks with my brother. And yeah, we did a little acting there. And then we had movies. We used to film our own little like news segments, just me and my siblings, and we would like make little comedy segments out of this
Oh,
with our
nice.
camcorders.
Nice.
And that translated into high school when we would have projects and we'd take our toys. Like at one point, we had to do the story of Hercules fighting the Hydra with Aeolus. And I had a gigantic Brachiosaurus toy. By the way, dinosaurs, always been into dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I had this giant Brachiosaurus toy, and we would get clay heads on it, and we acted out a little stop motion thing of
Oh, nice.
my little figure killing the
That's
the
awesome.
Hydra.
Yeah, that's
It was
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I did some in college, I did some voice acting, and I took some acting classes, and I did a little bit of acting like that. I haven't been able to do it though since.
Sure.
You
I mean,
seem-
it's tough. You got to find the right
You
opportunities.
seem from me barely knowing you, just sitting to your right sometimes, that you would be like a Shakespearean actor.
Probably.
Like that's like it seems like that's the type of acting.
What
you would
for
enjoy.
art thou? Yeah.
Just like yeah,
Yes.
the very like solo performances of
Yeah.
the like,
Monologuing.
long
Do.
dialogue, long monologue, and like you definitely have that.
To suffer
to
the
you.
slings and arrows
About
of
outrageous
outrageous fortune.
Or by suffering to sleep. To sleep, perchance to dream. Anyway,
I knew if I started that. I just knew.
alas, poor York. Anyway,
I knew him well.
Yeah, so I've also like my Shakespeare. Yeah, my final in college, I did all of The Raven while acting it out. by
Nice.
Edgar Allan Poe. That was fun. I like Edgar Allan Poe. I like reading and writing.
Obviously.
Surprise, surprise.
It's good because you're a writer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of helps.
Not a reader though.
Yeah.
I have fallen off on reading some, and I need to really get back into it.
I kind of had to make myself.
Yeah.
And then once because I'd fallen off for a little while, but if you can kind of get it going again, it really picks back up pretty easily.
I started to go through my list of books I wanted to read. I just finished Les Mis, the unabridged. If you really love that time period and that kind of writing, go for it. Otherwise, get the abridged.
Oh, really?
Really?
Is that the book that stars Liam Neeson?
Yes.
Okay.
And Hugh Jackman,
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh,
that sounds
both. It's a combination.
Yes. Anyway.
depending on the version. One version sings to you.
Yeah.
So it's a,
Yeah.
I was actually surprised how accurate that was to the book. Although there's plenty of things that weren't, but yeah. And then right now I'm going through The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh,
or
right on.
Notre Dame.
Notre
Um,
Dame.
And
So are you
I'm
going to
about
read Phantom of the
3/4 way
Opera
through.
next then? Or
No,
you
that's,
Gaston
I've never
Leroux?
considered that Phantom of the Opera.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess while you're imbibing in French literature, you might
Oh,
as
but
well.
I've like read so much Terry Pratchett.
Not French, but yes.
Oh, I love my Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams.
Yeah,
and,
Douglas Adams.
Michael Crichton.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I've read like every Michael
I
Crichton book.
guess I've read the Jurassic Park
Andrew-
novels,
Yeah,
and I've read Timeline,
yeah,
and that's it.
yeah. Oh,
From Michael
there's so
Crichton.
many
Is the
good ones.
Timeline movie based on his
Yeah.
book with the Paul Walker?
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
watched the movie.
I mean,
actually
it's
was
not
that
great,
impressed
but
with
I
the
like
book,
it because
but,
it's
yeah.
time travel.
Yeah,
So
The
that's
movie's
something. I'm
the movie's
obsessed
fine.
With time travel.
The movie's fine. The book's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book is pretty okay. But he's got other books I think are better.
Oh,
Prey
sure.
is amazing. I love.
Yeah, I
Prey.
haven't read that.
I'm an Eagle Scout. So I did Boy Scouts. Me and my brother both
Scouts.
got to Eagle Scouts. So I'm really big into hiking and outdoor stuff and camping and
Knots.
tying knots. In fact, I just got a new special cord that I can use, and I have this gigantic book of every knot you can ever imagine by like sailors, and I'm going to go through that.
It's like it says Book of Knots by sailors.
Sailors.
I think it might be called Book of Knots.
Oh no!
Now you can buy
I
it.
did.
Mention that
I-
yet. It's very important to your
Yeah,
character.
it
You don't know how
is.
to silence your watch.
yeah.
I thought I silenced it, but it still
we-
wants to talk to me.
I too travel. I've been to England, Alaska, Spain.
I was gonna say Spain. I know you've been to
Hawaii,
Spain.
Jeez, brag about
and most of the states we would travel cross country by car. So I haven't been to Florida yet. I really want to go.
Yeah.
But most
Ireland is the only place I've been to out of country,
and
and
yeah,
I would.
I want to go to Ireland.
kill
I
to
wanna
go back
New Zealand.
because-
I want to go to Japan. I had a chance to go to Japan and Australia, but they fell out.
Yeah.
Someday.
Japan's on my list too.
Yeah. We should all just go.
Okay.
Yeah. There's
Go
got to
as
be
the
a
rundown.
convention in Japan, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Even if there's not.
Also true.
We'll make one.
I'm also big into food, eating out and cooking. I do all the cooking of my family, pretty much.
He cooks his entire family.
Yes.
That's right. Cooks them all.
There's lots of great recipes for kids.
Chicken nuggets.
Yeah. I'm a history buff of pretty much all kinds of history, and I'm a Mason.
It's not a cult.
Freemason. Yeah. In fact, I'm.
Not one of those enslaved
Who
Masons.
made Steve
No, not
Gutenberg
really enslaved.
a star? We do. I just think of the Stonecutters song
Yes,
from The
that's right.
Simpsons.
That's right. No, I'm a Freemason. I'm currently the worshipful master of my lodge, and so I've got a lot on my plate right now to try to do that.
We keep trying to threaten to cut off toes to see if we can get Spencer to tell secrets, but he won't.
He won't. So he's a good secret keeper. So
Yeah, for now.
Actually, cut off toes.
I'm gonna hobble my way home.
We don't wanna lose
I'm
any
gonna
more
cut it
toes.
off there before I think of more things I like doing.
Sure. Oh, that's fine.
Sure. I've been trying to keep notes as you guys have mentioned stuff.
Dan's
'cause
like,
it's stuff
I hate
that
life.
that I
I
wouldn't have
barely like board
remembered.
games. I don't like you people.
So So I'm gonna just start off and just say I tend to be like a jack of all trades, as they would call it, to where I like dipping my toes in everything, but I wouldn't call myself amazing at a lot of these things. Like I would call myself a cinephile, but I'm nowhere near you guys. I mean, first of all, I'm 15 years younger than you, but
Brag a little, or
but also like I just
15?
like it's close. But like I love movies. I love studying how movies are made, directing, cinematography. Cinematography always blows my mind because it's so unnoticeable until you notice it, and then it sticks out, and you're like the choices they made. One of the biggest things that have stuck with me in my cinephile career is at the beginning of the first Captain America movie, when it's giving the Red Skull background, Red Skull's car pulls up close to the camera, and it does like this, and I was like, that was so Indiana Jones. Like the angle, the lighting.
Chris Columbus
and
was
I
the
was like, I
director.
bet and same cinematographer as Indiana Jones. Like that was such a moment for me that I was like, I could
he worked on
tell,
Indiana Jones.
You
It was
know,
a
good
yeah.
choice.
But yeah, history buff. I tend to call myself a history buff, but I'm not nearly as in depth as a lot of other people's. I love World War I and World War II, and I tend to, when I hear about something, I study the hell out of it for like a week. I learn as much as I can. I'm not going to retain all that knowledge, but I just find it really interesting. Someone mentioned something to me when I first heard the Sabaton song "No Bullets Fly." I had never heard of that story before, and then I studied it and I learned the people's names and everything that happened, and I love it, and that's just what I tend to do. So I'm the human in D&D, right? I partake in everything, and I'll never be an expert at any of them. That's just kind of
Jack
what
of all
I do.
trades, better
Well,
than
I
master
mean,
of none. Or
we
one.
we showed up. I mean, not that long ago, Dan and I showed up to a game night like 20 minutes early. But I was like, "Look, I know I'm picking you up early, but we both just saw Spider-Man." And then not only did we talk about Spider-Man for like the next hour because game night started late and nobody was like the hosts were late getting home. So we're just sitting in my car talking about movies because then it goes from Spider-Man to then
Doctor Who, I think,
to
was
all
next.
over the place.
yeah.
Yeah.
kept
But
branching.
I mean, so for me, right? Yes, you're a cinephile, and you don't have to have seen everything that I've
Sure.
seen. But you and I can dig into this stuff, with the same passion and fervor. And yes, like you, right? Like the eye for cinematography and in just the chaos that it is in making a movie, and like how can they bring all this stuff together? We love it, right? And we could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And we love to disagree, but we agree on a lot of stuff too. But what's exciting is that we're passionate about it,
Yeah,
right?
I love the screenwriting process. I've written some screenwriting. There's a free program called Celtics, if you've heard of it, just because you do a lot of writing, just wondering. But
I thought it was the not thing. But
I was thinking that too.
It's CELTX, right?
Okay.
Oh, yes, I
Celtics.
actually have, yes.
But it's just, and I just do some screenwriting here and there because that format is so interesting with the headers and the
This happens. Roll
fade
this.
in,
Yeah.
pan left, and you're like, right, that's such a fascinating process to me. And then how someone takes that and turns it into a movie with directing and stuff. It's just so interesting to me. It's funny. So you reminded me, you brought up Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout when I was young, but I don't remember if I ever actually went anywhere with or anything like that. I do remember, though, that then I had to go into Awana, which I don't know if you've heard of. So Awana is like Boy Scouts for Christians.
Oh,
it was
okay.
something that I had to do through my church, and it was literally, I don't know what Awana stands for, but I would just describe it as Boy Scouts for Christians, and that it was just very funny for me. I should point out, I guess, just because it's a big part of my personality, I am not Christian, but I was raised Christian, and that's a big thing for me. So to go into my acting thing slightly, in high school, I had a friend who was into YouTube, and he had a very nice camera, at least for the time compared to all of us. He was like rich because his dad gave him everything he wanted, and we used to make like shorts on YouTube and stuff, just acting shorts, and they're terrible. And link below. Yeah. Nope. I will not tell you the name. But like we just walked around and just had dumb ideas. I mean, one of my favorite videos we ever did was we did like a war scenario, but where it was a snowball fight, where we were like, just like he did like real cinematography on that one, and like we built snow mounds so that we could like lay against them, and snowballs were coming over like bullets, and like we'd get hit and be like and like go flying back, and it was just so fun, just a dumb idea we had. There's a super short video once of those giant green electric boxes that are like outside of parks. They're like just giant green squares.
Yeah.
yeah.
When we were in high school, we had no idea what those were. They were just like some kind of electrical box. Who knows? It has a bunch of stuff in it. Don't damage it, right? And he just had an idea where he wanted to walk up to one, and he said, man, these things are everywhere, man. What do they even do? And I said, I don't know, but we should probably just not touch it, and stuff. And he's like, what's going to happen? And he goes to smack it. And I said, no, don't. And he hits it, and it just cuts to a nuclear explosion going on. And that's the whole video. Like,
I like it.
Just super dumb. We had such fun in high school just making ridiculous videos. Again, until you brought it up, this is why I was keeping notes. In high school, I played violin and piano. I can still play violin to this day, but not nearly as good as I used to, of course, not nearly as well.
Thank you.
Then how does good morning make sense, Spencer? The
Well
morning is
morning.
not good. The morning does not have a good heart, but well morning doesn't make sense either. Weird how English works, Spencer.
Yes, it is.
Anyway. I just love that when people say it's well, not good, and I'm like, good morning. How does that make sense, loser? So, but I love playing violin, piano. I should say, I when it comes to music, I play by ear. I can read music, at least I used to be able to, but like I'll just like hear like the James Bond theme song, and I'll just go like right, and I'll just like find the notes, and that's how I play piano. I play with these two fingers, but I'm very good at it. Like I can play really, really fast songs with these two fingers, because that's just how I train myself. I can't do left hand stuff like this. If I tried, I'm sure I could because I just like music. But if you ever see me playing a piano, it's just me chicken pecking a piano really quick.
Play the piano with my dad
It's
types.
funny 'cause my mom taught piano, but she was always too busy teaching her students to teach me.
Of course.
We didn't pay her.
And then we go into the gamer shelter, which I've already talked about a bunch, but the last thing I'll mention about it is it all started because I met an Irish guy while playing Battlefield 3 online named Gavin, and we met randomly in a server. We were in the same squad, and we just kept playing together. And then eventually he introduced me to his friend David, and David wanted to start a YouTube channel. I wanted to start a YouTube channel, so actually then we kind of we still hung out with Gavin and everything, of course, but we kind of just made our own thing because Gavin wasn't interested, and we just started this YouTube channel from nowhere, and we just played games, and it's crazy. We had a YouTube channel going for, I don't even know, I want to say 5 years or something like that, and we still haven't met in person. It's all been purely online. He lives in Ireland. I'm planning on going there eventually, and I hope I can meet up with him while I'm there. But we've never met. It's all been purely digital, and for a long, long time, he was my best friend. I mean, we knew each other inside and out, and it was really cool to make a friend like this. And also, the craziness of this, I know it doesn't matter, but I'm Daniel Stafford, okay? His name is David Lafford. It's spelled exactly the same, except with an L instead of the ST at the beginning. And when we found that out, we probably knew each other for a long time before we told each other our last names, and we were like, what?
You're making fun of me.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, Gamer Shelter, fun times. Audible, I got into around the same time that Bob and I started talking about it. We just kind of, and I don't do it all the time. I don't have my subscription right now, so I haven't done it in a while. But I have almost purely read Star Wars books. The money that Disney has to put into Star Wars, they're just so good. I mean, the Star Wars audiobooks, especially Thrawn, if you haven't read the new Thrawn series, they're great. The first one is by far the best, but I think they're all good. But the sound effects, everything, it feels like you're just watching a movie with your eyes
it's like
closed.
an audio
Yeah.
play, right?
Yeah, except that
or radio play.
yeah, in a radio play, they play out slower, and they tend to have a different voice actor for every person.
Oh,
where
right,
the
right,
Star Wars
yeah.
books usually don't as one person. But I have read other things, but I'm just saying so the first book I listened to on Audible was actually Ready Player One, I think. I was like, you know what? I want to see this movie. I got Audible, I got the audiobook. I thought the book was fantastic. I liked the movie, but it was not as good as the book, which always happens,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's fine.
But
Movie
that's
is fine, but
Um,
Ernest Cline, I think, wrote that.
Travel-wise, I wanted to say, because you mentioned that, and it was actually interesting because it was only 2 years ago that I have had any travel in me, and it jumped up like crazy. I mean, I've still only left the country for Canada, but before 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever it was, I had been to Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, and I don't even know if I'd been to Michigan at that point.
Sure.
And you're a half hour from where
5 miles from where you live.
I just didn't travel. I wanted
Yeah.
to, but just didn't have money, didn't have excuse to do it. And then Catherine and I were just like, let's go to Niagara Falls. We're like, yeah, let's go crazy. But we took a crazy route where we went east, and we went up the East Coast and everything. We stayed in Maine for a night and everything. So my number of states I'd been to went from 4 to I don't even know, like
About 8 to get there.
yeah. So and then we purposely took a route that like curled up and then back down and everything and then up. And so I mean, in one trip we went from 4 states to like I don't even know in the teens. And we went to 2 countries. You know, like it was just such an awesome experience to do that. Because everyone said Niagara Falls is better on the Canada side.
Yep.
So we were like, let's spend the extra money. Let's get our passports. So let's go do it. And then lastly, I just wanted to say when it comes to cooking, I can microwave a corn dog, and it will be delicious. But
And warm.
I hate cooking. I just
You know,
such a time commitment. And I just again, is home cooked food in this giant meal with all these spices? Is it better?
Yes.
Than like a corn dog? Yeah, of course. But a corn dog's still good.
hold on. Okay.
Right.
So
There's a lot
hold
less
on.
dishes with the corn dog, too.
Yeah.
Is that your last thing?
Yeah.
Okay, because I got a funny story to tell about Bob.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So we
Okay,
were
no,
like
go
relatively new
New.
friends. I mean, we've probably been friends for like a year, maybe, just
Sure.
playing like D&D and stuff. And we were going to this Ren Fair. So we all live in northern Indiana. That's where we're at. We were going to this Ren Fair that was just north of the Illinois border.
Yep.
In
Bristol, Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin.
wanna
And it's
go
this really huge Ren Fair.
It is very
And
nice.
it's my first. I've been to like the smaller ones when I was younger and stuff. But this was like a bunch of us, a bunch of friends. We're all gonna go camping. I don't camp. I don't like camping very much. But you know, I'm going with all my friends, and we would do it like Matt and I would go on these road trips, and we would camp because it was cheaper than a hotel room.
Right.
You know, like we go to Mardi Gras and stuff. Anyways, so we go to this Ren Fair, and Bob's like, "Oh, I'll bring some stuff," because Bob was a chef at the time. And Bob's like, "Well, I'll bring some stuff we can, cook over the campfire." So I'm like, "Okay, like hot dogs and things like that." And I am a picky eater.
Yep. Very.
Yeah, I've gotten better.
You've gotten better.
I've gotten better, but I am a picky eater. But I tried a lot of the stuff that you brought. Because then Bob is like, okay, so I've got like these, like a leg of lamb and some lamb chops and like all of this
Some
stuff.
duck.
Some duck.
Yeah.
And he's making it all over this campfire. It smells amazing.
Yeah.
This MFer can cook. I can cook,
Yeah.
but Bob can cook.
That was
Like,
funny. Matt is eating. He's like, all right, you can stay.
Yeah,
That's when I knew I was in.
it was just just another
That was a
fun
good experience, yeah.
another fun thing. It's like one of my favorite stories to tell. But okay, so before we wrap up, you guys have any other random like facts or things? So I got like a couple real quick. So I never went to college, but like I've got 3 sisters. 2 of them went to Notre Dame. My dad went to Notre Dame. My niece went to Notre Dame. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I did not go to college because I was sort of a reckless youth. Also, I like playing sports, and I haven't practiced in a long time, but I used to do a lot of Jeet Kune Do.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
Talking about music and whatnot, I was in band for 7 years. I played most of the
Yeah.
brass instruments. I love doing that.
I
Yeah.
was only in orchestra for 3
Yeah.
or 4.
Mhm. I had a ton of fun with all that kind of stuff that comes along with that. I went to Purdue for a year and a half.
Boiler up.
Yep. And then
My wife went to Purdue.
Yep. Went to
So-
a local school for another year and a half. So 3 years of college, no degree, lots of debt. That's fine. I do have a sister. She went to St. Mary's of Notre Dame. So my family was always, kind of torn Notre Dame, Purdue, and whatnot. But
Notre
we
Dame's
like 'em
better,
both.
but Purdue's good.
But yeah, that's basically
Yeah,
that.
and I'm also an
so.
avid sports fan. Like, I love sports more than probably anybody at this table.
Probably.
I have 2 living sisters and a brother, an identical twin, and almost all of them are artists in some way,
Sure.
except for me. Well, I guess
You
writing
are
could
an
be
artist.
Yeah,
You're a
writing
writer.
could be
You're an
artist,
artist.
And actually, you reminded me, I have a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo.
I was waiting for you to talk about the Taekwondo.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I was like, well, I'll bring up my
Totally
Jeet Kune
forgot
Do, and
about
that'll trigger your memory.
Yep.
Let's see. What did you guys all just talk about? So I went to 2 semesters of college, but it was a community college, and I hated my experience there. So after the first year, I think it was 1 year. 1 year is 2 semesters, I think, at that college. But I hated it. I thought the teacher. It was one of the teachers that like I went for criminal justice, and it was one of those teachers that like they would walk in the room, they would say, "Open to page 394. That's the chapter reading today," and they would leave the room. And like we'd just be like.
That's homework, not
No,
teaching.
yeah, we learned nothing. I thought the class was terrible, and so I was like, I'm done. This is so I just stopped. So yes, Bob, got nothing out of it. Oh, a bunch of money. So
Yeah.
that's always
So
fun.
I'm the
I
only
did
one
pay it
here
all
with a
off, though.
college
It's all paid
degree?
off.
You
Yeah,
are.
brag about it.
I'm the only one here with a college degree.
Okay, Shakespearean. But let's see.
Hey,
what else do you
I'm the
got?
only one here that
dad
never
with it.
even went. I would go. So my best friend Matt,
don't
I
have
would
the
go
debt.
stay. I would go stay. I would stay in his dorm room
At
for
Ball
weeks
State.
at a time at Ball State.
yeah.
So I pretended to go to college.
I was college aged for about 4 to 6 years.
I don't have any martial arts type of thing. I've always wanted to. I actually have always wanted to do fencing. I find that
I think
very
fencing
interesting.
would be
There's a
awesome.
fencing academy
I've
in
larped.
Mishawaka.
I know.
That doesn't count as I've LARPed.
No,
I'm not quite the same.
Fireball,
gonna say-
I've wizarded.
That's
My
right.
family has quite a few like dual level lightsabers, like
Nice.
whatever you
Yeah,
call
yeah.
those. And so I am actually very good at all that kind of
Maneuvering
stuff.
around, yeah,
but I've
yeah.
never taken classes, and I've
Self-taught.
never fought. I didn't say I'm good at fighting. I'm good at flourishes.
There you go.
I
Okay,
have
right.
the motor skills.
You can finish with the
flourishes.
flourish.
Let's
How many
see.
siblings?
Yes, there are 6 of us.
Good
more than me.
Lord, too
Yep.
many.
Right.
Yep, not all the same parents, but there are 6 of us. I am the oldest boy, but the 3rd oldest. I have 2 older sisters. Man, there was something else you guys mentioned in that last bit too. I hate sports. I think
he
they're
does.
a waste of time that bring out the worst in most people. Hi, you can hate me now.
We already do.
It's all right.
I'm totally different. I don't care.
We are yin and yang there, right? Like, because I love sports and am passionate about sports, and Dan is like, why are you even talking?
I hate going to a family, and I know everyone's different. I hate going to a family get together. Everyone's playing a board game or having fun talking, and someone's in the background going, "You idiot! How could you miss that throw?" And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, you don't even know the guy.
Listen, Dan, it wasn't my turn. I'm watching the game.
No,
All right.
I'm just saying, have we invited you since?
Fair
Then he
point.
was sitting there playing a Switch the whole time.
And that's how you end it.
All right, guys. So if this is not what you wanted, well, then you shouldn't have asked for it.
That's
but this
right.
is the way too in depth getting to know
Right,
you
yep, right.
that was
That's us.
requested
Yeah.
on the Discord.
I will tag this in a way to where you can skip to each section that you actually find interesting, because you might be like, I don't care about their high school years at all.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
Or to
thing,
each
so
person, you're like, well,
skip all
Dan's
the
talking,
Spencer
skip
bit,
to the
there we
next
go.
one.
that's what I'm gonna do.
But anyways, so for future topics, if you guys have ideas or suggestions or things you want to see, hit us up on Discord or Facebook. I'm trying to be better about posting things on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not,
Yeah, you've been pretty good. I
but
keep getting
I'm
notifications.
getting better, getting better. And then always our every other weekly show. Every other weekly?
Yeah.
Every other week show will be the regular
Bi-weekly.
rundown.
You know a hobby
bi-weekly.
we forgot to talk about, and 3 of us are a part of it.
Oh, Meeple.
We have a non-profit organization that we do
That's
board games.
actually
It's board
huge.
game related though. But
It
yeah.
is board game related.
I should be a part of
President, vice president, and I don't know what you do. You're the agent.
registered agent.
He's
Registered
the agent,
agent.
which is kind of the coolest.
it. And
but,
I'm a parasite. I attach myself.
anyways.
If Spencer wasn't a part of a cult,
That's right.
But-
He's already in a cult, so he don't want to join ours.
Yeah.
you know?
People that have stuck around this long probably already know this because they watch our
True.
other show. But yes, we try to organize in our area
Yep.
little game groups and build the
meetups.
hobby.
which again, just paying it forward, right?
Yep.
Just trying to do things for the community.
Yep.
So anyways, guys, if more of this, reach out to us.
Yeah. If we didn't cover what you wanted, what the hell?
I don't know.
What did you want?
Shoe size? I wear a 10, I guess.
my sizes,
5'6". I've got blue eyes.
22 and a half around.
You knew it just from that? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
He wears a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I do actually have a lot of
Yeah.
hats.
Spencer is on a first name basis with his haberdasher. So anyways,
That's a word.
for the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I've been Bob.
He's been Dan.
He was Spencer.
Woo! We'll
Nicely
see you
done.
next time. Thanks for watching.
Hey there, I'm an Aquarius, like long walks on the beach, favorite board games Candyland, like film and filmmaking and art. I'm not on Tinder, so hit me up. Or wait, no, don't. I don't know! Ah!
Thanks for checking out the Board Game Rundown. If you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Share our videos on social media and spread the word. We publish new content weekly, including reviews, unboxing, and Let's Plays. And as always, thanks for watching.